Hello, my name is Ariel, like the mermaid, and in this video I'm going to talk about pansexuality, polysexuality, and bisexuality. So first off, pansexuality is the attraction to people of all genders. So all genders means people who are male, as in people who identify as male, people who are female, as in people who identify as female, and people who are non-binary, meaning people who don't identify with either of the binary genders, male and female. So that includes gender-fluid people, it includes genderqueer people, it includes agender people, anyone who doesn't fit into the binary genders of male and female. What pansexuality doesn't mean is that someone is attracted to all people of all genders. People who are pansexual can still have certain sexual preferences and certain romantic preferences, and can still have, like, maybe you have some certain physical preferences in people that they want to be involved with romantically or want to be involved with sexually. And they can even have preferences of gender, actually. There are some pansexual people who prefer maybe females and non-binary people over males, or males and non-binary people over females, or anything like that. You can still have some preferences, and it doesn't mean that you're attracted to everyone equally. It just means that you have potential, you are attracted to people of all genders. So you find some females attractive, you find some non-binary people attractive, and you find some males attractive, and potentially you could be enjoy being sexually involved with someone of those, or being romantically involved with all those kinds of people, regardless of gender. And pansexuality also does not mean certainly does not mean being attracted to everything. And it also does not mean being attracted to pans. And yes, that joke's been made a lot of times, you don't need to make it again. So polysexuality next. Polysexuality is attraction to more than one gender. So polysexuality, pansexuality is a form of polysexuality, because pansexuality is attraction to all genders, so that's more than one gender. Bisexuality is a form of polysexuality. I'm going to talk about bisexuality a little bit more, because bisexuality is an attraction of more than one gender. So polysexuality, basically, so if you are attracted to men and non-binary people, you are polysexual. If you're attracted to females and non-binary people, you're polysexual. If you're attracted to certain specific gender identities, just male-identifying people and female-identifying people, etc., it's all a form of polysexuality. Because polysexuality is the attraction to basically anyone who is not monosexual, which monosexual means exclusively attracted to one gender. So, for example, heterosexuality. If you are only attracted to people of the opposite sex, that is monosexual, because you are only attracted to one specific gender. If you are homosexual, then you are monosexual, because you are only attracted to people of the same sex, so the same gender. So, yeah, that's that is what monosexual is. Polysexual is basically anything, any kind of attraction that is not monosexual. Also, polysexuality. Do not confuse polysexuality with polyamory. Polyamory is a very different thing. Polyamory is a type of relationship, and a type of desired relationship, where you have a relationship, it's a consensual relationship between a person and more than one partner. So It's basically, polyamory is like the opposite of monogamy. A monogamous relationship is one where you have a relationship with one person throughout the relationship. Polyamory is one where you can have like relationships with multiple. You can have sexual relationships. You can have just a romantic relationship with more than one person at the same time throughout the relationship. And it's not always, and it's usually a consensual thing, and but it's very different from, again, it's different from polysexuality. Polysexuality is attraction to more than one gender. Polyamory is a type of relationship. Okay, so now bisexuality. Now, bisexuality is a kind of controversial one now. Because here's the thing. Bisexuality is, out of all of these, is the most known. It's the most recognized. It's the one that's LGBT. B is for bisexual. So bisexuality, most people are aware of. Most people have an idea of what it is. But where the controversy comes is the term bisexual, if you take its etymology, bi means two, as in bicycle, as in biplane, as in and bisexual means it means two. If you take it's like bi, which means, you know, two, and sexual meaning like sex, or you could change that out for gender. So you're attracted to two genders is what, if you take just the etymology of the word, that's what it literally would mean. So for some people who identify as bisexual, that might be what they mean when they say, I'm bisexual. They might mean, I am attracted to two genders, and usually what that would mean is like, I'm attracted to both of the binary genders, even if they don't realize that's what and you know, a lot of times people, when they say, I'm bisexual, they would mean, I am attracted to men and women. However, this is not always what someone means when they say they are bisexual. Some people mean they are, some people when they say they are bisexual mean the same thing as pansexual, as in they mean they are attracted to people of all genders. Some people may be attracted to just more than one gender if they identify as bisexual. So I think you can be sure that if someone identifies as bisexual, they certainly are polysexual, but it might, you know, it could mean a few different things. But I mean, you know, like it could technically mean like I'm only attracted to women and gender queer people. It could mean something like that, even because that technically would go with the etymology. You have to be careful with how you assume that, because different people have different motivations and why they might have a different identity. A lot of people would prefer bisexual as opposed to pansexual because it just gets more recognized, and they maybe would mean pansexual as in they mean that they would mean the same thing as pansexual, as in they're attracted to people of all genders, but they prefer bisexual because it gets more recognized by people in general, and it's just a term, yeah. Basically that's a big motivation for why people, or maybe they just haven't even heard of pansexuality as a thing, you know, but whatever, I think whatever a person's motivation for identifying as bisexual, I think you should respect that that's their identity, and respect what they mean by their identity, and don't tell them that, oh no, you should identify as this, you know. I mean, some people can identify however they want, and the term bisexual has certainly kind of evolved to mean different things. I personally prefer to identify as pansexual because I am attracted to people of all genders in general, but I personally would not like to refer to myself as bisexual, because as a non-binary person, I don't really like, just from the etymology standpoint, I don't like how bisexual kind of like literally kind of translates to two genders, and that sometimes there's some confusion around that. I personally don't like that. I'd rather have a sexual identity that is confusing to people who are ignorant about different identities than have one that might be misinterpreted as one that kind of excludes non-binary people. But just because that's my personal preference doesn't mean that anyone is less legit for identifying as bisexual rather than pansexual, or bisexual rather than polysexual. It's all, at the end of the day, you kind of have to, particularly with bisexuality, since it's a term that has been a little bit controversial in its definition, and a little bit, there's been variety in what people say about what it means. So be careful with bisexuality. But yeah. If anybody watching this video has a different opinion about certain identities, feel free to comment about it. I certainly hope I haven't offended anybody who identifies as any of these things. If I did, then please, again, write it in the comments, and that was not my intention. The bottom line is sometimes people will use different identities to mean different things, and, sometimes it can get a little bit iffy. Also, a big thing to remember, when I say attracted to men and attracted to women, I'm including, when I say men, I'm including cisgender men and trans men. You can be attracted to just the binary genders, and that can still include trans people. If you're attracted to women, I am including cisgender women and trans women. Now, of course, there might be some people that have a preference where they only prefer cisgender people, but just as a general thing, if I'm talking about a sexuality that is attracted to men or attracted to women, there's a men and women include trans men and trans women. That's just a general thing. But thank you for watching the video. Again, comment, whatever, if you need, if anything needs clarification, if I said something offensive and I don't know it, just comment and I will hopefully respond to any comments. But thank you. Bye.